Welcome to episode 43 of the MINDFUCKERY podcast. In this episode, I want to talk about karma or an eye for an eye, those emotions that you feel. I think it's quite a natural response when we experience hurt and we're still in that hurt, or we've been duped by someone, that we hope that they go through something similar, that they experience, or they get a taste of their own medicine is another term, isn't it? I think it's quite natural that when we've been hurt, we want somebody to hurt in the same way. And you might be wondering when the emotional abuser is going to experience karma for the damage that they've caused to you or to other people, because you might now be watching it playing out for other people. You might actively be willing it to happen and sitting around with your popcorn waiting for that moment. And I think I've mentioned it in the podcast before, that some of these emotions seem to be cyclical. So at the moment, I'm seeing a lot of people saying, I can see, or my ex is now with somebody else and they're going to get hurt in the same way. Now I understand it. Should I tell that person? And my answer is no. Welcome to the MINDFUCKERY podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth, author of Finding Lily and the A to Z of emotional abuse. I'm here to remind you that love should be unconditional. Divorcing emotionally is life-changing, and that you have a duty of care to yourself. Each week, I will discuss some of the terms you may hear along this journey, and I will help you understand and process what's happening. I will help you find the best habits as you start to take back the control of your own life and learn the tools to heal on a deeper level, becoming the best version of yourself. So as I said, I believe it's natural to want the abuser to experience something similar, for somebody to do what they did to you. They receive that pain, someone does it to them back. An eye for an eye actually comes under the law of retaliation, and it's about compensation for the damage that they've done, so whether that's in a monetary way or whether that's in a physical way. I can't remember which of Caroline Myss's books it is, but she describes an eye for an eye as an outdated paradigm. And I have to agree, to be honest, although from the other side, I know the pain, I know all the hormones that drive this emotion, and they are very real. I don't think there's anything that can compare to leaving an emotionally abusive relationship. The pain runs deeply into every single cell, and it physically hurts. The pain's real, very real. It's like you're never going to recover from it. It's like living in a nightmare. And everything that you believe to be true, you then discover is a lie. And your brain stops working. And it stopped a long time before this moment. And it did it to protect us, to protect you. It's like having an entity living in your chest, which has the ability to draw you doubled over in pain to your knees. And this pain emanates deep within your soul. And it's possible during the relationship that you saw the red flags. I put my hands up. I did the same thing. I believed the stories. I believed what I was being told. I wanted to believe that this wasn't true. 1 minute at the end of the relationship, and actually it can happen during the relationship, you're functioning, and then next you can't breathe and you've got tears flowing out of nowhere. So why wouldn't you want somebody who has done this to you, caused you this much pain and damage, and lied to you on a massive scale? Why wouldn't you want them to experience what you've experienced? Their biggest fear is abandonment. And so they create strategies and they create scenarios and they lie and they put themselves in a place of control so that will never happen to them. And as you play back the relationship, when you come out of it, there will be a time when you go over it and you're ruminating and you're replaying the messages that have been fed to you. But in those moments of clarity, if you can dig into the ground and ground yourself completely, visualize roots coming out of your feet. If you can do that, or box breathe is another one where you are breathing in and counting and holding and counting, breathing out and counting and holding and counting. They keep you in the body. And if you can put yourself in that position, if you remember to do that, create habits. Maybe you get up in the morning and as you're cleaning your teeth, you're visualizing, you're grounding yourself. So when you're in those moments, when you're fully in your body, you'll be able to see it as abuse. The moment you come out of your body and you're in your head, then that is when you will play over the relationship, going back over, but it is my fault but I did this, so therefore it is my fault that they left me and they abandoned me. And once you've moved through that stage, you'll start to piece together what happened. You'll start to question whether they loved you, whether the relationship was real. And you'll dip in and out of that as you dip in and out of your body, as you ground yourself, but you're in your body, and as you swing in and out of rumination. It's like a pendulum swinging backwards and forth. I use the analogy for cognitive dissonance of clackers. It's a children's game. Well, it was when I grew up. I think it's been banned now, but it's two balls that clack together as their name, and you drop it down and pull them back up to get them to crash together. And that's what's happening to your brain. It's cognitive dissonance. So you were told a lie, and that lie you were told was the truth, and there might be red flags flashing all over the place, waving around, and you believe the stories because you perhaps wanted to believe them because this person made you feel so good. You didn't want the truth. You didn't want what your body was actually warning you, this big warning sign or siren going off inside you. You wanted to ignore that and believe that this person wasn't who they were portraying to be. Have I got that round the right way? I think I have. So you might have ignored those red flags because they made you feel good. They said nice things about you. They took you to nice places. They bought you gifts. They made you feel good. They saw you and they heard you in a way that nobody had seen you and heard you before. And as that fog lifts, you might realise that you were put in a full sense of security, and what they were actually doing was bonding you. And then you might understand why the relationship moved so quickly and why you felt so connected and why you had so much in common. Then you might question if they gaslit you and ask if you really did have trust issues that they told you that you had, and if your intuition was actually wrong. And then you might remember all the good times that you had, and it goes back round in a circle. It takes a while to untangle. It takes a while to dissolve those chains, the connections, the tendrils that they drove into you. And as I said, the cognitive dissonance, where you swing backwards and forwards, remembering the good times you had together, and then the abuse kicks in. And this is your brain merging the information and trying to analyze it and trying to work out what was true and what wasn't true. And I remember this saying, oh my God, does that mean? Oh my God, does that mean then? And having these moments. And then I might go into rumination, and then I might dig up all of the things I found myself going back over and finding proof that what I was saying wasn't true. He did love me. And so it takes a while, and your body is in this state. And there might be an element as you're moving through this that you really hope that somebody is going to do to them what they've done to you. Maybe it was just me. And then as you break down the layers, you start to remember other things, like the time that you were told you were bipolar, or that they said that everybody thinks that you're going crazy, or that you're insecure. Just insert the word that you heard. Mine was bipolar, and people were worried about me. And people around you at the moment might be saying, well, the best thing you can do is go and live your best life. Do these people not know that you're in pain? Do they not know what's happened to you? Do you know what? The ones that have never experienced it, no, they have absolutely no idea. They will never understand what you're going through. And this is why it's so important to surround yourself with groups of people that do get it, that do understand, that have experienced something very similar, because the patterns are the same. Our experiences are slightly different. And I can put my hands up and say, my trauma bond took over my life at times. It was running my life. In fact, I had a 3-year-old running my life for a long period of time. She might have been running part of my divorce as well, because that's what's happening. When you were in that relationship, they stole everything from you, and that included not only your self-esteem, but they stripped everything back and they reprogrammed you. So like a virus would get into the hardware of a computer or a laptop, they're able to do something very similar to you, and they found a way of getting in. Our programming starts from the day we're born, and a lot of it is in place up by the time we're 7 or 8 years old. That's how we are programmed. We take on the beliefs, so we take on the thought processes. It might be the religions, political, all of that's given to us is given to us in those 7 to 8 years. I say 8. A lot of people say 7. I say 7 to 8. We all mature at different times. During that relationship, you got reprogrammed. They put themselves in the place of caregiver and they stripped everything back. So you had nothing left. You were taken back to that of a child. They made you reliant on them. They took your money. They took your self-esteem. They questioned the people you had in your life. They told you that you shouldn't be trusting those people, and the only person to trust was them. And yet they were the ones that are abusing you. So what you're doing is you're experiencing this abuse or control. And it's the abuser that you turn to because you've been told that you can't trust anybody else. They don't look after you. They're not going to care for you in the way that the abuser cares for you. So they've stripped everything back and they've literally left you a young child. I say 3 because it felt like a 3-year-old. For me, yours might be younger. But they literally tear every fibre of your body and every fibre of your being, everything that was built and given to you, or you were told by the people around you, this is how we do things in this family unit. It's been stripped back, and they get you to question absolutely everything. Your brain is very possibly still anaesthetized, and your little hippocampus has gone into hiding. This is where we do our recall from. This is where our memory is. Our hormones are swinging backwards and forwards. One moment you understand who they are and what they've done, and the next minute you're questioning whether it's you, because look at all the good times you had together. What a nice person they were. And as I said, it takes a long time to detangle from this bonding that takes place. And it might be in moments that you want karma. You want karma to bite them on the backside, or you want them to experience what you went through, that pain. And you might even think, God, I hope somebody does this to them. I hope they then realise what they're doing. They won't. They never will, because it is a protection for them. They move on to the next person. You are a pattern. You're part of that pattern, and they learn for the next relationship what to do, what they can get away with, what to say and what not to say. Each time they're building on that. Divorcing emotionally from them means that they no longer have control over you. And one of the pivotal moments for me was when I realised that if everything I'd been told was a lie, this thought that I'd been holding on to, that there was something wrong with me, there was something broken. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm not saying that there is nothing wrong with me. But it was a pivotal moment when I realised if all of this was a lie, if the whole story was a lie, if everything that happened that I had been told was not the truth, or not the full truth, then why was I hanging on to this one thing, that I was broken and that I was bipolar? So divorcing emotionally is about using the pain that you've been left with to track down the wounds. I had a cat once he was born to one of my cats, and he always had this wild streak. From the moment he was born, you couldn't really touch him or pick him up. He used to hiss at you. And he used to come in the kitchen and spray. So he'd disappear for days on end. And there's probably lots of him wandering around, part of his DNA running around where we used to live. And he used to come in and spray. And we also had a dog, and the dog then would go round and sniff out. And to me, this is what this pain is. It's like the wound is telling you, it's showing you where you need to direct your attention to. That pain is a guide to you. It's saying to you, look, I need attention. Look, I need this. This is where you're hurting, and this is what you need to do. They live in a fantasy world where they can do and they can say and they can get away with everything. And they lead with their childhood wounds. They play the victim. They tap into parts of you that want to be healed, and you want to heal them and you want to nurture them. And gradually, like a bindweed, they take over your life, and they take over your finances, and they steal your hopes and dreams. They create this fake future with you. And where you've exhausted everything and they've stolen everything from you, including your energy, they leave you. They move on. They find someone else, and you're left a shell of your former self. But there is something left with that shell. It's the pain. And if people think I'm crazy, then this is going to sound crazy as well. Maybe I'm just about to prove them right, because what I'm going to suggest is you have some honest conversations with these wounds. Ask them what you want. This, to me, is crucial in your healing. And you want to name the wounds, you want to name the child. You can do it with the inner child that's hurting, or you can do it with the individual wounds. If you were using a therapist, or if you've ever been to see a counsellor or a therapy session, you know that you don't tell the truth. Not the truth, but you hold back. You need to create a trust with someone, and that has been broken so badly. You don't know who you can trust, and your trust might go in the wrong people again. So you might be holding back if you're speaking to someone. The one person that you can be really, really honest with is yourself, because you've been there. So you can have these honest conversations where you lean in and you ask where you're hurting. You can ask what it is. You can ask yourself how old you are and what you really need, and see what happens. It sounds crazy. You could say, hello, trauma bond. But honestly, it really, really works. Trust your intuition. You're not going to get closure from the abuser. So your life is on hold if that's what you're waiting for. If you're waiting for them to get karma, you're waiting for that eye for an eye, isn't going to happen. It might do at some point, but your life's on hold and you're not living it. I know I just said people might say, oh, get on and live your life. Honestly, the talking and having these honest conversations along with the grounding and the breathing will save you so much time, will save you years of hanging around waiting and watching. They're not going to take responsibility for their actions, and it's doubtful that you'll get any proof of what they did to you. It's really crucial that you find a tribe who will be able to support you through this. Learn to set boundaries. Make sure you stick to them. They can be small ones at first. Learn no. And when you emotionally divorce, you will no longer be wanting that eye for that eye. You will no longer be protecting them when people start talking about them. You won't be defending them. You will no longer be leading with your wound, because you might be saying to people, if you heard what happened, and if you're divorcing them and you're going through that divorce process, you can lead the negotiation, or you can be in control of what's going on and how you feel. And as I said at the beginning, I've seen posts at the moment around on social media saying, my ex is now with a new partner. Should I tell them who they are? My answer to that is no. You have been given this opportunity to heal your own wounds. The new partner will be put in the same position. They have been told that you're crazy. They've been told that you're desperate, that you're still in love with them, that you want them back, whatever. There might be variations to that. You reaching out to the new supply and saying, hey, I know who this person is. This is what's actually happened to me. They can't hear you. It's like playing a vinyl record at the wrong speed. They either sound like Pinky and Perky or really it really slows down. They might hear the words, but they can't hear the tune, they can't hear the melody. In fact, they probably couldn't hear the words. But what I'm saying is, they have been told, they've been fed a different story, a different narrative. To them, you're crazy, you want their partner, you want to get them back, or whatever the story is that you've been told. You will be playing part of that triangulation game. You'll be primed for it. You're ready, you're stepping in and you're playing a role perfectly. So it's about staying in your lane, concentrating on your healing, using those wounds, talking to yourself. I know it sounds a bit odd, but I promise you it's so powerful. It's really, really is so powerful. And if you want more information, or if you need some help, reach out, drop me an email via my website. Come and join me on the in the Divorce Sanctuary, and let's get this party started, because you can create the most amazing life. I promise you. I'm sending you loads and loads of love until next time.